Back in New York, the media attention surrounding the Murder Inc. indictment was at an all-time high. In response, Irv Gotti decided to hold a press conference to change the name of Murder Inc. to a less controversial The Inc. Hip-hop heavyweights like Leor Cohen and Russell Simmons were on hand to lend support.
I'm cool with telling everyone here, I'm a good person, y'all. I know y'all read a bunch of things, don't believe it. I do what's right and was raised by a lot of good people, and I always am on the side of right. A lot of what I get criticized and blamed for is because I help my dudes, man. My dudes that come home, they do 10, 15 years in jail. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times I'm getting blamed. I feel I should be getting rewarded, man. I'm taking real dudes and giving them a job and a life that they ain't doing no crimes no more. But yet and still, they look at me, you know, Murder Inc., Irv Gotti, they think I'm building the army of criminals. It's not the case. I'm doing a lot of good, man. I'm doing a lot of good.
I tracked down Irv Gotti and his brother Chris outside a party. The federal indictment by the U.S. attorney was hanging over their heads.
Told they think we the new mafia. I have bigger problems than just the hip-hop police. My name's Irv Gotti, the boss of the Murder INC.
What Irv apparently didn't understand that day was that in thinking his problems were bigger than the hip-hop police, he discounted the depth and complex nature of who they really were. The hip-hop police were not just local NYPD detectives, but a sophisticated combination of various law enforcement groups. The same groups that were targeting Murder Inc. records and Kenneth Supreme McGriff. It was clear that members of the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York were looking deep into the criminal ties within hip-hop. Rosalind Moskoff in her office would not comment directly about any of the present cases that were referenced in Newsweek magazine. But the article did mention rumors that a particular probe was in conjunction with a Justice Department task force.
The police department in New York City is now an interagency where CIA, FBI, military are all engaged at the highest level of the operations of this organization now.
These kind of dossiers go to other agencies, other law enforcement, so they know if it's a hip-hop situation, who it might be. Where was that guy in that particular day? You know, when you interview somebody, you want to know what his alibi is.
In trying to uncover more information about the so-called hip-hop police, I found a search warrant affidavit online for a drug stash house of Kenneth Supreme McGriff. It mentioned an NYPD detective working with the FBI, the IRS, and another law enforcement entity, HIDA. The detective's name was Bill Courtney, the same Bill Courtney who apparently had been spearheading the East Coast arm of the Murder Inc. investigation.
What he is a case agent. That's all he is. He's sort of the guy that knows all the pieces of the puzzle.
Stamped all over the inside of the book was an official seal indicating the intelligence documents were the work product of HIDA. Then I learned something else. HIDA was a federal task force with funding authorized directly by the White House. HIDA stands for High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area. It was first developed in the early 90s to combat large-scale drug trafficking. HIDA has 27 field offices in critical regions across the United States. It uses the most cutting-edge law enforcement technology to gather intelligence on criminal organizations. The first HIDA field office was located in the Washington Heights neighborhood of New York City.
HIDA is just this vast encyclopedia of information from prior cases, ongoing cases, existing cases, cold cases.
State-of-the-art computer networks and systems.
So if HIDA's involved, there has to be a drug connection because that's their mandate, drug enforcement.
This charge code is VTL, that means vehicle traffic. I don't know what HIDA has to do with that, but it's in here.
In a separate Freedom of Information Act request made directly to HIDA, copies of the actual pages from the book were offered as part of the request. Despite their seal appearing throughout and on the copies of the pages I gave them, HIDA denied any knowledge or connection to the book. In the late 80s and early 90s, the drug trade was at its peak in Queens. It was reported that Irv Gotti idolized and revered the neighborhood's famous drug kingpins.
You being from Queens, I noticed that rappers like to shout out a lot of drug dealers on different songs and stuff like that. Have you ever heard of somebody named Kenneth Supreme McGriff?
Yeah, I heard of him.
Does he have any affiliation that you know of with Murder Inc. or anything like that?
No affiliation that I know.
There's all these assumptions that a lot of people in the hip-hop game came from the drug game, and they did. A lot of people came from the streets. This was a way out for a lot of people.
We all come from the streets, you know what I mean? So a lot of niggas got smart, you know what I'm saying, stacked up a couple of stacks and, you know, put it to a better use.
What I would have is a huge bulletin board with who I thought was the head of it, John Gotti at the top, to use the mob sort of thing, and then who was the consigliere and who were the captains and who were the associates. That's exactly what this is. This is this particular Murder Inc. This is who they out-contract to. This is what they do. And you start picking them off.
The Murder Inc. case would be a benchmark for federal law enforcement. A trial of money laundering, murder, extortion, and hip-hop music. Did the feds have enough evidence to meet the burden of proof, or were they grasping at stereotypes within a culture? The trial would shed light on the contradictions within hip-hop and its relationship to law enforcement. In the early days of the trial, hip-hop heavyweights turned out to support and weigh in on the case being presented in open court.
Spent a lot of money on this trial. And you look closely at the trial, you'll see again the results, and you'll see what tremendous waste of resources it was.
What do you think the results will be?
I'm sure the results are going to prove that there's not a strong case at all. We do know that there's a problem in our community. We have to address that. Poverty and ignorance in our community is more important than convicting their poets.
Thank you.
So you think it's just a guilt by association?
Honestly, I don't know what it is. There's no guilt at all. As I see it, I don't see anything that represents guilt.
As the prosecution presented its case, they seemed obsessed with having the attempted murder of 50 Cent allowed into evidence. After 2 days of tense deliberations and sidebars, Judge Edward Corman ruled the jury would not hear about the shooting or how it tied into the charges of money laundering against Irv and Chris. This was a pivotal part of the trial, as it undermined the prosecution's attempt to connect Irv and Chris to the shooting.
It's not over, and when it's over, I'll tell you how I feel.
How are you feeling? It's up to the jury now.
Well, we feel good, but we spent a long day making our arguments. We stand on what we said in the courtroom, and we look forward to tomorrow.
What do you think is going to happen tomorrow?
We're going to win.
I mean, are you?
We're confident.
We deserve to win.
Why?
Really, because the evidence was so just ridiculous.
How's it look today, gentlemen? Good. The weather's good?
Nice day, beautiful day.
I'm overjoyed. I can't say thank you enough to these two guys that I got my arms wrapped around. These guys are my attorneys for life. I'm never getting into any other trouble though. You could put your bottom dollar on. I was never, no jaywalking, no nothing. And I was never in trouble in the first place. I would never have worked this hard, come from having $0 to having millions of dollars to jeopardize it and doing something stupid or illegal. It's not in my make. What's in my make is to be the most loyalist friend and to help my brothers out. Everything this case was about, the messages that it sent was one, if you're a criminal, you stay a criminal. And two, if you're from the hood and you come up and you do well, Don't help out nobody from there. Leave them. And I have a problem with that because I love my people. And I can't leave them behind. I gotta show them a better way.
I could get my life back. Not only did they take your life, but they took your livelihood because basically once the government put these charges on you, you couldn't earn money. So for 3 years, you couldn't go get money like you're supposed to. Basically, to me, felt like they wanted to cripple you so you couldn't protect your civil rights.
Hip-hop is the backbone of America right now. And y'all know about it because y'all read about it and y'all write about it and y'all document it.
All right, you coming through,
and I'm just happy to say that we're in this.
I wish I could tell you where we're going. We gotta go.